Formal arguments operate like a mechanical system. They are rigid structures built from individual premises that interlock to support a conclusion. This diagram shows standard argument form. To reach a conclusion, information must pass a logical filter called the relevance criterion. If a premise contains verifiable evidence bearing directly on the claim, it passes through, locking into the conclusion to form a valid structural bond. Building a case with hard facts requires intensive research. To bypass this effort, an arguer will frequently drop an impressive title into the premise, substituting prestige for actual evidence. This specific error is the appeal to a relevant authority. Relying on an unqualified expert triggers the filter and completely shatters the link. This failure happens through three distinct mechanisms: a domain mismatch, a verification failure, or a severe conflict of interest. Citing an authority is never inherently logical proof. If the authority triggers any of these three failures, the entire argument structurally collapses. The first point of failure is known as the transfer of competence. This occurs when an individual's verified area of expertise has no overlap with the specific subject matter of the claim they are being used to support. This diagram shows two distinct domains. Consider an arguer claiming a college should adopt a new academic curriculum simply because the college's governing board unanimously endorsed it. The members of a governing board are highly qualified professionals. Their formal authority, however, maps strictly to fiscal operations and organizational management. The claim in question relies on the design of academic courses. When we try to draw a line from the board's expertise to the curriculum, the connection fails. Despite holding institutional power, these board members lack the specific academic training required to logically validate a curriculum. Transferring competence across non-overlapping domains results in a logical dead end. The premise is severed from the conclusion. The second structural failure is the biased authority. In this scenario, the expert possesses perfect domain competence, but a conflict of interest removes their testimony's value as objective evidence. Consider a scenario where a senator suggests the FBI director should testify at a hearing to clear the Bureau of charges regarding unauthorized internal activities. This diagram maps the formal relationship. On paper, the director is the ultimate authority on FBI operations. The domain requirement is fulfilled. But the director's career, reputation, and personal freedom are directly tied to the outcome of an investigation into their own agency. Because these stakes dictate their professional survival, their statements cannot be treated as objective, relevant evidence to prove the Bureau's innocence. In formal logic, a biased expert's testimony provides zero structural support for a conclusion, regardless of the prestige attached to their title. The third failure vector is the unidentified authority. Logical validity requires verification. To accept a premise based on an expert's claim, the audience must be able to test that specific expert's credentials. This image displays a massive volume of industrial water discharge. Now, imagine someone arguing that government agencies are responsible for more than 50% of the country's water pollution. When pressed for their source on this massive statistic, the arguer provides no specific entity, stating only, "I read the other day that this was true." This argument map illustrates the problem. The premise relies on an anonymous box, resulting in a total inability to verify the evidence. Without an identity, we cannot check for a domain mismatch. We cannot screen for a conflict of interest. The logic gate remains closed. An untestable premise is a dead premise. Any argument relying on an unnamed source permanently fails the relevance criterion. Recognizing this fallacy is only the diagnostic phase. You must also have protocols to actively dismantle these failures in a live discussion. For an unidentified authority, demand clear identification, force them to name the source, or discard the premise. When facing a biased authority, isolate the conflict of interest and place it up for debate. You can highlight the structural flaw without ever accusing the expert of lying. To defeat a transfer of competence, deploy what logicians call the absurd counterexample method. The athlete Michael Jordan provides an excellent case study for this tactic. This diagram highlights the disconnect. If someone cites an athlete to sell a product, ask your opponent a direct question. Does Jordan's unparalleled expertise in basketball serve as objective proof for the quality of Hanes' underwear? By answering this highly specific question, your opponent is forced to recognize the absurdity of the domain mismatch in their own argument. Attacking faulty reasoning elevates the search for truth by enforcing the relevance criterion.